My name's Corey. I am the person behind Come Drive With Us. And with the whole COVID boredom, I figured it might be a good time to jump on this whole live bandwagon and do a bit of a director's commentary of Come Drive With Us. All right. It's funny, like the tests, when was that, on Tuesday, went so well, and this is going so badly already. So a little bit of backstory. I'm not going to go into my origin story per se. I'm going to leave that for a shorter episode because Reedy's kind of a long one. It's 50 minutes. And obviously I want to chat about a few things and leave some time for Ernst. Would be like to interview Don Cherry. I was super nervous. I was a huge fanboy. So it was kind of like one of those checklist items talking to Mr. Ernst. It was a true honor. And he kicked off the Reedy race video just perfectly. Of course we can't hear him because I suck. Just bear with me for a small moment. Yeah, so while I talk about this a little bit, so for the first three episodes, or sorry, for the first two episodes, I also used my cousin Howie for the audio. He did really good, I felt. I was watching this series. There's one on HBO called 24/7, I think. It was like a hockey documentary. Then I was watching another one called Oil Change. And so that was kind of the voice I was going with. And Howie did a really great job. And he's no Mike Garrison. He's no Adam Drake either. But he got the series going, and he did a fantastic job, in my opinion.
Invitational winner of the Reedy race. That is as
So let's try to make Scotty a bit louder. Anyways, this here is not my shot. I use a lot of stock footage.
The year was 1987.
Yes, 1987.
Organized RC racing was on the rise. New, exciting tracks were opening up all around the world. Mike Reedy, one of the
That's
pioneers of RC
interestingly
racing,
enough,
saw this
1987 is
and decided it
when
was
I
time
got
to
my
do
start
something special.
in this wonderful world.
Celebrate his birthday. Along with 230 of his closest friends, it would be a race.
And that was
Not
kind of a
just
neat
any
shot. That was
race.
actually a 2D photo that I
Top drivers from
basically
around the
used
world will be
Photoshop
invited
to do
do
some
battle
magic
in a
on and
unique heads-up
make it kind
racing
of look
format
three-dimensional.
that
It's
set
kind
the
of fun.
standard for racing excitement and difficulty. As the years passed and champions like Lett, Hirosaka, Kinwald, and Pavitas were crowned, electric buggy racing fell out of favor among the world racing stage. The Reedy race.
I don't know who that guy
lost
was, but he was having a lot of fun at the Reedy race.
now, with the worldwide resurgence of electric
I do
buggy,
miss Dakota's
crowd of young
Dragon.
racers are eager to have their name
That was pretty
etched
cool.
beside Champions of yesteryear.
Mayfield. And that was Robert Black, the owner beside him.
Hartson, Mayfield. Who will be next? The most exciting race in the world is back.
Yeah, OCR. See, I shot there again in 2017 for the Surf City, and it was interesting because it was hard to make that production look different to the Reedy race, because every race at OCRC, it has that big Reedy banner. You know, it just feels like the Reedy race no matter what.
While the Reedy race is alive and kicking today, Mike unfortunately lost his decade-long battle against Parkinson's. Mike's legacy, however,
Yeah, I really liked how they had
lives
that,
on the rising stage.
the classic buggy class. I'm not sure what it's called, retro class. That was pretty cool.
Reedy International Off-Road Race of Champions.
Little known fact, I actually raced at this race. Well, I drove around the track at this race. Oh, I really hate this intro. except for that shot. Look at that handsome guy. And that's my Jeep, my trailer I used to have. And I used to run the Kyosho 8 scale. Now I switched to X-ray. I've seen the light. Yeah, I really miss Dakota's little Godzilla. Yeah, this intro can't go by fast enough. But the good news is they did get better. And again, this whole thing exists because of Proline and the Testmans. We'll get into that next week.
Drivers. The 2013 IFMAR World
So the one thing I've always wondered about Ty is living in Canada a huge disadvantage for him? Because a lot of these guys get to run all the time. You know, Mayfield later on, he says he does like 25 races a year. It's pretty crazy.
Been racing for
Whereas Ty just doesn't do that much.
I get to do dirt off-road a lot, especially indoor. So it's kind of like a treat when I come down here. So it's not like really a job for me, does it feel like? It's still, to come down and race with the best guys is still fun. So I think that's an advantage.
Like most of
So
today's
the
top
Testmans
racers,
used to
Ty
own
started at a very
a
young
hobby
age.
store called, oh man, Raceway Hobbies and Trains. So they ran that for many years until Ty went pro. And then he basically, their travel schedule was too crazy. So they ended up shutting it down. I can't remember the year. I think it was like 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there. I'm sure somebody will jump up and tell me when it was.
Ty has never been alone in his quest for glory.
He should feel shame for even touching a monster truck.
Travel as a family to as many events throughout the year as they can.
But they traveled since he was 9, 10 years old to many, many races. Oh, this is actually interesting. I believe, let me just move myself here. I believe that's Chris Toko beside Testman. I'm not 100% sure if that's him, but I know Chris reached out to me a couple of years ago asking me for footage from this race. And this was actually donated to me by the Testmans. And yeah, so just a little bit of piece of useless RC history.
Like we are ready to go, guys.
Gas truck is still my favorite class ever.
Here we go, 30 minutes.
Ty gained international notoriety with his 7th place.
Yeah,
finish
24,
at the
sorry,
2008
28,
World
2008.
Championships in Charlotte,
The
North
Farm
Carolina.
2 Worlds.
And your son would be driving for the World Championship title.
This is pretty good.
I hope, but I didn't think he would. It's just an amazing drive.
Gord, he doesn't get emotional often, but he does occasionally, and it's pretty nice to see. Because Gord's a super great guy.
Proud of him just making it this far. Whatever happens from here on, we're happy. You know, we're proud of him.
Yes, I'm just thankful to God for giving him such a talent.
15 years old.
Yeah, 15 years old. That's impressive.
Championship finals. How does that feel?
He finished 7th that year.
I met Ty Testman was at Monster Hobbies. You know, he was just a little kid.
And here's Adam.
You know,
I was
they made
torn
it
whether
out
to
a bunch of us that
include
came
this
from California
interview
and, you know,
in the
Gord
Reedy race
told me
because
many
Adam
times
doesn't
that
race
they
the Reedy
just
race,
had to
but
make that trip 'cause they didn't
you know,
if they'd
he's
ever
like
be
the
able to
man,
see
right?
or race with
For
someone
Canadians,
outside.
this would be like interviewing, I don't know, Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, maybe? Like he's kind of the ambassador of RC. For people who aren't into this sport, I'm just trying to give you a little bit of context as to Adam's importance.
What he does is he just doesn't quit.
Commercial. Nice. How do I skip this? So it's the joy of using some music. Music licensing is actually the bane of my existence. Sometimes it's really good. I use Audio Jungle for the most part. It's like 25, 30 bucks a song. But for the Perth Worlds, I was trying to use an In Excess song and they wanted $50,000 for 1 year. So I was like kind of good. But a lot of these artists, they'll give you a good deal, but they monetize it, which is kind of sucky. But I can skip this. There we go.
We decided to check out.
So
most
what's interesting about this
enthusiasts
travel
refer to as
montage
the bucket list
is
race.
it's really backwards. So anybody who lives in the Southwest will understand
Our
this.
first stop
So this is
the
Idaho.
Reedy race.
that's Montana, so we're going backwards. This is Utah. It's my Rubicon. This, I believe, is Bakersfield. And this is on the way home, in fact, by Bakersfield again. And now we're in Vegas. So it's like the biggest travel montage fail ever.
Los Angeles, home to the infamous
And what's
LAX.
also interesting about my cousin Howie, who documented this, is he has a show called Caution May Contain Nuts. And his son was actually in the Twilight movies. He had a bit part as one of the werewolf type people. But yeah, he's no stranger to Hollywood. He's a stand-up comic as well, really funny guy, Howie Miller. Check him out.
It is also the mecca of competitive radio
Traffic. I
controlled
actually got
car
out an HOV ticket because I said we don't have freeways in Canada, the cop, and he bought it.
This is the 20th running of the Reedy race, and it has a new home, Orange County RC Raceway.
So yes,
OCRC
I've gotten out of an HOV ticket.
Unlike most motorsports, the
This is
majority of
OCRC,
these big RC
Orange
races
County
are
RC
standalone
Raceway.
events.
They like
No
to make a
points
thing
to
about
collect,
locking the
only
doors.
trophies and
They did the
contingency
same
money for the
thing at the
winner
Surf
few.
City race.
These
They wouldn't
racers are
open
highly skilled
doors
professionals in
till
the grip of a shared obsession.
3 p.m.
Most of these racers will attend no
for
less
setup.
than 14
And I don't
races
think
per year,
anybody could get on the
facing
track.
each other at almost each of these
But they like
events.
locking us out.
Essentially,
They like having that upper
traveling
hand.
circus.
Roughly between 20 and 30, depending on. 30
So this is interesting. Here we got the pros talking about how many races they do. So Mayfield claimed 30.
I'll be doing all
The Euro guys,
national
it's
series.
10, 12.
It's almost one every month.
You know, and the fans one every
15
month.
really big races a year, something like that.
15 for
World
Tebow.
Championships.
At least once a month.
Ty,
Euros, 10 to 8 again.
you know, I think they did about 10 to
But
12 at
I'm
that
racing
point.
Basically, probably three weeks a month.
But Mayfield here saying he races 3 weeks out of it. So it's a hard job.
Arrive Wednesday.
It's a really hard
practice
job.
Thursday and Friday. Qualify Saturday. Main Sunday. Hopefully win. Relocate and repeat.
I'm periodically checking the Facebook comments.
There's a lot of guys in this. It's going to be really tough.
The Reedy race is, it's an exciting race.
Who's going to be fast? Everybody's going to be tough.
Ty will have his hands full as the current two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive world
So
champions
at
are
this
in
shot is interesting because that was basically both the two-wheel champ from that year and the four-wheel IFMAR champ. That was Stephen Hartson and Jared Tebow.
Bad day for a long time.
I just won the last Worlds in four-wheel drive. It was awesome.
Here's Hartson
Won a big race like that
trying to
before.
figure out how to turn up the volume for my
Best thing
iPhone.
ever.
The invite class is made up of the top 30 drivers in the world. The other 200 participants win their chance to compete.
So they have a lottery. It's
by way
usually
of a
200
lottery.
people that are in it. Everybody knows it's not actually 200, but in the defense of Associated, there's a lot of people like Daniel Adams, a lot of people in the industry that just get a spot, and you can't take that away from them.
Pro line have
So
been
realistically, it's probably
selected
more like 100.
manufacturers to supply the
But
spectators
if you can get in a lottery, do it. This race is absolutely a bucket list
Pro line
race.
racing have been innovators, game changers really in the area of RC car tires. Back
The
in
80s.
RC
For all
car
you
tires were
young
one of the
punks, this is what our
standard
cars used to look
systems of
like.
performance.
They were just crap.
Motocross-inspired treads that don't promote
Couldn't
cars
jump,
of the day.
didn't turn,
This resulted
pushed like a
in
dump truck.
nearly
It was terrible.
scale-looking vehicles that were all but undrivable.
But hey, it's all we had, and it got this wonderful sport started. I don't know what that guy was going to do.
Begin to pour in, including the Teslas.
So this is after they've released the cattle. They've opened the gates, and everybody is
Drivers from around the world.
getting their spots. Oh, sorry, another commercial. Royalty-free music isn't always royalty-free.
Are in attendance.
So Ryan Mayfield,
Ryan Mayfield.
if there were an RC Hall of
Drivers
Fame,
in RC today and a fan favorite wherever
first
he goes.
ballot entry, right there.
He drives with passion, emotion, and with reckless abandon.
He's defying age as well. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit more later, obviously, because here he wasn't old yet.
I don't want to say I only
You're
drive
getting
good
so
when
much
I'm
trouble.
angry, but yeah, sometimes I can do a little crazier things angry.
We all know, Ryan, you're so much better when you drive mad. But yeah, he's really defying his age because he's in his 30s now and he still is on top of his game, which is pretty amazing.
Fill the shops, like do the just kind of the finishing touches on the cars. Glue tires, balance them.
So I really love spec tire racing. I wish
kinda make
that
sure everything's
Roar and
in the
Ifmar would do it for on the 8 scale side.
Yeah,
Because it seems to sort of level the playing field. Like, I think I'll get into this a little bit more later. But the interesting thing, oh, there's Tanner Denny. Look at him. He's just a little young punk. Love it. Anyways, I'll get into it a little bit more later, but there's a lot of open guys that cheat at this race. So it's kind of sort of schmedium. But
Scotty Ernst will be the race director for the week.
Scotty Ernst was RD, and there's Owen, the old man. There's the guy behind Red RC.
We'll call the race live as well as in the broadcast. However, this is not your traditional broadcast.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what Brandon really does, because I've done one live broadcast and I never want to do it again.
Hobby is exciting, but it's different.
So here Scotty's talking about how boring our qualifying is. And he's right, it is, but I don't know if it's ever going to change. But we got darts on TV. I think last week I saw stone skipping. Like, how is that on television and our sport isn't? So
for the people that are going to watch it on TV, some unique editing, things like that is what it's going to take, I think.
Unique editing. Trying. Oh, there's Bob Kendall. Oh, Joel Navarro. Haven't seen him in ages. Does car action still exist? I don't know. I just don't know. So this was practice day. The thing about the Reedy track is it's usually fresh. Practice is so frustrating because there's literally no grip. And more really cheesy royalty-free music. But this is a really nice race because there's only 20 heats, so it's actually a small race. So you tend to get a fair bit of practice. There's usually a lineup, which is sort of frustrating, but it's worse at other races.
In addition to competing in the open class, Daniel Adams is the Proline team manager.
Oh yes, Daniel.
Earlier in the week,
this was IERC. It was like a 10-15 minute drive from Proline, so it's kind of their de facto test track. It was a beautiful facility. It was sad when it went away. No, there's Tim Thomas. There's no Easter egg in the Reedy race. I didn't start that till the Worlds, episode 4.
So, we'll come down, we'll just try some different stuff and see what's working.
There's Ty's 2.0 buggy. He was still with HB at this time, obviously. I'll get into a little bit about the Franken buggy soon.
I'm doing testing for the Reedy race.
But again, it's got to be tough for Ty to come to a race of this importance. Kind of, I don't want to say cold because he's crazy talented. But it's almost like he comes to this race ice cold. Oh, there's a good shot of the Franken buggy.
Back at OCRC, disaster. Team Testman receives a major...
Yeah, so Leon's on the phone with Gord. This year, so Gord was still working as he was a building maintenance. He had a building maintenance company, him and his brother. And one of their buildings froze up. So he ended up getting stuck in Canada. And Ty and his mom were the only ones at the Reedy race. But Ty does his own wrenching, so it's not like he was completely lost by any stretch of the imagination. He did really good this year. You'll see later.
Torrance de Guzman, the lead engineer at Hot Bodies.
So Torrance took over the wrenching. These shots, my head keeps getting in the way. Sorry, Torrance.
It's 8 p.m. day one.
So another thing about the Reedy race is it's a $200 entry fee. I've heard a lot of people whining about it, but you get a lot of swag. Like, you get one of these nice display boards. You get one of these cool stands with your name on it and stuff. It's actually pretty good. And then you get a free set of tires. Of course, your second set of tires cost $187, but I'm just kidding. I'm going to get in so much trouble over this.
Two-wheel drive. Ty, heavily involved in the R&D activities, has a custom two-wheel drive buggy made up.
So the Franken buggy they were running was a Kyosho front end, and I believe an associated rear end. Torrance or Hot Bodies made the chassis, but the super interesting thing is in 2014, I was allowed to film the Franken buggy. In 2017, I was not.
Starting order for each heat
What's
is
up with
completely
that, Torrance?
randomized, decided before the unheated starts.
I'm in so much trouble.
For them, the practice session is purely to familiarize themselves with the track.
Well, this one was just kind of a...
But the problem with coming to a race like this with a car like that is Ty had literally no one to bounce ideas off of at all.
Next run and hopefully the tires are better.
Both the world champs struggle on the track for the first practice rounds, especially Jared.
Yeah, the track was so hard to get used to because it was loose, and Jared was really having a rough weekend.
Stuff like that. You know, this race is really tricky. You're racing with a lot of guys you're not normally used to racing with, and you know, it's hard to really judge what people are going to do and try to make passes. So, you know, for me, I like our traditional format. You know, it's fun to do once a year.
Yeah, he was not liking the track. He just felt it was a little too easy. There was no passing lanes. But that's kind of the story for a lot of indoor races.
Last year's Reedy race champion, sets a ferocious pace. He will be hard to beat.
Just checking some Facebook comments here.
Ty finishes two-wheel drive practice relatively comfortable with his buggy.
Sounds like Corey needs a cocktail so he can relax. I've got one.
This class, to most, is considered the Formula One of 10th scale off-road racing. Ty is running the yet-to-be-released D4 2013 edition.
So what's interesting, the D413, I think it was the best buggy at this race. Because like Ty was just killing it with it in four-wheel. It's kind of too bad that he struggled, and we'll get into that a little bit soon. It's too bad he struggled with the two-wheel it's too bad he struggled with the Franken buggy in two-wheel. Because the four-wheel, like I said, it was the best buggy out there. I think it was still a prototype or a pre-production car. It was the D413, but it was, man, it was on point. I used to do Proline commercials when I actually had time. This production took 277 hours. The future ones, yeah, 400 to 600. So I used to do those nifty little Proline commercials. They got an internal guy, Robert Bauer, really good. He's really good at what he does.
It's just a prestigious race, and you get most of the time you get the best racers in the world.
It's always been one of the most prestigious.
Oh, Brian, you'll be missed.
Everybody takes it, you know.
He gave me great interviews. Super nice guy.
The biggest races, so a win here would be probably the best thing.
Stephen Hartson. Whatever happened to Stephen Hartson? Just curious.
Winner takes all.
Because I'm just gonna hop over to Facebook and see what's going on here.
And at the same time, it's probably the most laid back and fun race.
Mike is one of the legends of the sport.
I remember Mike Reedy way back in the day when I started racing.
He basically, you know, gave us the opportunity and made sure we were taken care of, just like he did with everybody else.
He didn't have no qualms about who, what, when, where you were. He helped.
So, are you guys able to hear?
I think, you know, real
I had a few comments that there's no audio. I
just
don't
in a
know.
way that was just really genuinely just passionate about what he was doing.
All around good guy that just
Just checking Facebook here.
Called me up and says, Scotty, we want to fly out to California to commentate and announce at the Reedy race, and we'll fly out and pay and everything. And I was, wow, I didn't want to tell him that I'd have done it for free.
Two-wheel drive Invitational. So Invite is very, very competitive. As I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of cheating that goes on. Sorry, not Invite, in Open. There's a lot of cheating that goes on in Open, but Invite, man, it's some of the best racing you'll ever see. The only thing that I can add about it is maybe they should trim it down to 20 instead of 30, because they're really it's a real stretch. getting 30 guys to at the same level, at the same speed is really tough. Because at this race, I think there's pretty much 20, 25 guys that were at the same pace, but then there was a few guys that just didn't quite fit, like JQ. Sorry, Joseph. Not sorry.
Ty and Leanne arrived bright and early for another day at the office. Racing starts out with a driver's meeting hosted by the one and only Scotty Ernst.
So the Reedy race is kind of cool because it's not super long. Like you can basically take, what does Mark Santori call it? PTO days? You can kind of do it with 2 PTO days off. Maybe, well, I guess 3. I don't know. But it's not a whole week like the Nitro races. Like DNC is pretty much a week. And the heads-up racing in Invite is pretty cool. In a way, I wish they did the Reedy format in Open. I get they can't, but it would be cool if they could.
Ryan Mayfield, a heavy favorite after the practice sessions, walks away with an easy win in the first round. It's a dominating
Yeah, so Mayfield, I don't think had a Reedy win prior to this. Cavalieri came into this race with 2.
Well, the start was a little bit hairy. It's really hard to get.
And Ty kind of struggled in the first round. He absolutely did.
So I got through that. I got into Yorn a little bit.
I mean, it's just it's a mess getting through traffic when there's no passing lanes.
Out there, wait for people to crash, because on this track it's hard to go faster. You just basically got to wait for people to crash. So that's what I did, and I ended up getting up to 4th, and then just kind of put in a solid first run.
And there's the Franken buggy. This is a really cool layout. It wasn't super challenging, but the lack of grip in the entire 2-wheel drive segment really made it hard. Now they've flipped it. Now the Reedy race has 4-wheel drive first and 2-wheel drive second. So by the time the 2-wheels buggies are out, there's lots of grip. And we saw a shot of Josh Payne. I think that was one of his few Reedy appearances. He's a super nice guy.
Round 2 begins with more dominance from Orion.
And then here we're in round 2. And this was Cavalieri when he started to really get going.
Getting ready for any race that's coming up, but this one is the biggest one so far of the year. So all our cars are all fresh, dialed in. I usually spend about probably 3 or 4 days in the garage and just
yeah, Cavalieri, his dominance of the Reedy race is pretty amazing.
Just to get everything dialed in.
I mean, it is his home track, so it's sort of expected, but Rick Howard, he was the oldest person at the entire Reedy race.
It's got to be talent, what can I say?
And he said he's very talented.
The racing is getting rougher, and more drivers are getting frustrated.
Speaking of rough, there's Jorn.
Ty isn't the only one struggling.
More on that later.
Jorn
Jorn was pretty awesome.
10th and a 3rd.
But when you have no passing lanes and in a 5-minute race, what do you do? You either wait for the guy, somebody to crash, or you hack somebody out. But yeah, Jared he wasn't having fun, but he started to slowly gain a little bit of momentum towards the end of Tool. Ty, not so much. They were still struggling with setup.
This is where the addition of Gore to Team Tespin is most evident.
So I gotta wonder, was it because Gord wasn't there?
Early, but it's not enough.
Or was it just starts like that?
Just kind of following traffic at the start, and then got left behind a little bit, but then started to push more at the end. It was just too late. We're working on the car, figuring stuff out. So.
Yeah, working on the car, trying to figure stuff out was what Ty was really struggling with through most of 2-wheel.
Either due to confidence or his equipment.
Probably holding back a teeny bit more. I still got one thing to try.
So Ty's talking about holding back. He was kind of running it conservative in the first round.
The finish is disappointing.
He finished 9th after the first couple rounds. I think he finished his 2-wheel in like 5th. And there was more than just a few calls back to Gord. And that's, I believe, what Leanne is doing here. So it's hard to say, like, would Ty have done better with Gord there? But he wasn't the only one, because Dakota's dad was also unable to go down.
Parts organized and to travel.
And so like, unlike Ty though, Dakota, I don't think he did a lot of his wrenching. The team did his wrenching for him. So I think that might have been a little bit of a disadvantage for him.
Ty starts from the number 4 spot this round. After
The neat
wholesale
thing about
changes to the
RC though
suspension package,
is there are a lot of
Ty's
RC
car will not
families. Like we saw Dakota's mom, Nancy, helping him, and Leanne helping Ty. And Cody King's dad was there. You know, there's quite a few. And in future episodes, you'll see Landon Lewis's dad helping him out. CJ's stepdad helping him out. So the neat thing about RC is it is really family oriented. Yeah, here Dakota, I think this is round 3 or 4 of 2-wheel. Dakota really walked away with this one. It was an impressive run.
2/10 there. Before long, Ben just checked out and is out of reach.
Yeah, Fenn completely checked out on that one. And then it was like a dogfight in the back. Like, look at that. I think that's, who's that? Lee Martin, Cody King, and is that Neil? I'm not sure who that is.
Present in this battle. The racing is surprisingly clean, for the most part.
Yeah, a little bit of bumping and grinding there. So it sounds like the Facebook feed isn't working super awesome, which is really weird.
And it ends.
But I'm on YouTube.
And takes the final podium spot.
Everybody comes here to win, so if anything less is going to be disappointment. But it's still, we're only halfway done, so anything can happen.
Dakota, like Ty, is also struggling in the 2-wheel segment.
Yeah, so Dakota had a little bit of bad luck in 2-wheel as well. He wasn't really loving it so much.
Both phenoms may have dug too deep a hole to get out of.
And the thing about the Reedy race, if you end up 2-wheel in 5th or 6th, it's rough. So here, what happened here is by round 5, Ty started to figure out the Franken buggy, and by round 6, he pretty much had it nailed. And so that's what Torrance and Ty are talking about here, because in 2013 at the Worlds, Ty's B-main time, I think, would have put him in P2 or P3. And they kind of had that same thing happen here. They just figured out their 2-wheel a little too late. Kind of the same with Jared, but Jared was within striking distance because he finished 5th after the 2-wheel drive segment. Ty was down in 7th, if I recall. And then as far as the top, it was basically the Ryan show.
It is a lesson in consistent domination.
This is obviously very prestigious, and it would be big to win. But it's
and at this point, Ryan hadn't won one yet.
Show, you know, it sucks to have to start 10th when some of your competitors, your closest competitors, are up starting 1st and vice versa. So it can be very frustrating, and a lot of times you're not in control of your own destiny. Where at other races, you're in control of where you start in the mains and what happens. And so to win this,
yeah, the Reedy format's really tough. It's heads-up racing. You get one drop in 2-wheel, one drop in 4-wheel. So like what Ryan was just saying here is that a lot of other races, you kind of hold your own destiny. You control your destiny. The Reedy race, there's so much luck involved. Here we got Open. BT, he was competing in Open. Actually did really good. We'll get into that a bit later. Here's Super Happy Guy. I don't know who that is, Richard Saxton. The qualifying was so tight. I think in 2-wheel, the one round, there's 50 drivers within 10 seconds. I was pitted right across from Sean. That was so much fun. He made it to the L main, but guys, like, there are fast people in the L main, except for Daniel. Actually, Daniel did pretty good. He made it to the J main. He makes it sound bad, but he and I had a thing going. He was way ahead of me. I was in the L or M, I don't know. It was bad. But I really struggled with the tires because the Open guys, some of them were just gone. They were pulling wheelies in 2-wheel, and I couldn't figure that out. But I wasn't cheating. I was using the spec sauce. I wasn't grinding my tires down. I wasn't soaking them over in the night. So yeah, there's a little bit of cheating
Even though these are
goes
not
on
invitational drivers,
open.
spectators line the edges of the track to cheer on their.
Oh, and there's a very young Spencer Rifkin.
The pros even come out to watch and offer cheers of encouragement.
The neat thing was the pros, they cheered on the open guys. I thought that was pretty classy.
Find anywhere. At one point, 50 competitors were separated.
But let's be real. I mean, some of these open guys were practically factory drivers. You know, Spencer Rifkin was an open driver at this race. Daniel, not so much. He was, so we had a thing going. Technically, I won because he basically backed it in. This is one of the finals. A-main number 1 for two-wheel.
In the two-wheel drive class,
Brent Thielke is out front. Oh, I really love, so track builders. I love rhythm sections. You know, where you can zoom in with a nice 200 mil. You see the buggies jumping. Yeah, I just love that. So track builders, rhythm sections all day long. I believe that's JP Richards chasing down BT.
Crash. JP takes the top spot.
JP would end up winning. I was pretty stoked. Never covered JP. Got to follow him a lot at the Trenton World, so that was pretty cool. This is another really neat thing. So this driver had a loose diff right at the start, and Cavalieri heard it and kind of raced over to the front straight, picked up his buggy, fixed the buggy, got him out before the race started. Yeah, this is what I mean about the rhythm sections. I just love shots like that where you can see the buggies jumping.
Four-wheel drive open class is a young up-and-comer named Spencer Rifkin.
Yeah, Spencer Rifkin. He ended up winning.
Drivers next year.
Was it four-wheel drive? I should have made a note of this. Oh no, he ended up. No, JP won two-wheel, and then Spencer won four-wheel. And there's the Monster Girls.
Stops were pulled out for the final day of the Reedy race. The Monster Girls were on hand
So
to make driver introductions.
the Monster Girl Parade wasn't overly popular with everyone, and it was mainly because it happened right before round 6 of four-wheel. Like, I get that why they do it. I understand that. It just kind of takes a little bit of the vibe away from the race. Slows the excitement down a little bit, but I like the Monster Girls. There's the D413. It's a very, very good buggy. Mayfield was running Associated here, and they kept on, in practice, they kept on blowing their drivetrain apart. So there's a lot of rumbling going on. There's a lot of rumbling going on in the pits about their car not being able to finish. But they ended up doing pretty darn good.
The prestige of the Reedy race has attracted the who's who of RC.
The neat thing about the Reedy race too is it does bring in the who's who of RC. You know, we had Cliff Lett, Bob Novak was there.
Taking in a few races.
You know, the full Proline crew. So that's in the center there. That's Matt and that there's Todd Matson, the owner. And here's Eric Epp, on-road guys. So his comment was, "It's a lot cleaner than I thought." Like, who says that? On-road guys. I just can't figure them out.
This is one of the most important races in all of RC. A win here would result in an unparalleled emotional high. It's an uphill battle for young Ty. He's going to have to pull out all the stops just to earn a respectable finish.
So in four-wheel, in this first one, Ty started from the front, and he just walked away with it. Like, that car was so dominant.
It was really good. Made a few changes since the practice on Thursday, and the car felt really good.
Well, Ryan is confident about his car. He suffered a DNF, or did not finish, due to a drivetrain failure. Will that have cost him a Reedy title? For Dakota Fenn and Ty Tessman, the mums are on deck to nervously watch their sons compete. Nancy and Leanne are seasoned vets to the RC parent scene.
Yeah, so it's
Pressure of this sport well.
I think this is the second round of four-wheel. He started in the back, and it looks like Cody King's going to get a new one ripped into him. Yeah.
Ty starts in the number 9 spot this round. It will be very hard for him to work his way to the front, as passing is very difficult. Patience.
What's interesting is Ty started from 9th, like I was saying, and he slowly started to work his way through the whole field.
Also started 9th, and tried to go to the outside to avoid crashes, but there wasn't any, so I just kind of settled
And
back
he's
in
behind Jorn.
and just kind of picking people off, waiting for you to crash. Just trying to get to the field.
So I believe Ty's up to 4th now. And I mean, this is the thing about the Reedy race. He's just sitting back waiting for people to crash.
Then just kind of follow Dakota.
But in a 5-minute race, sometimes you can't wait, and it gets so frustrating for these guys.
Ty pressures Dakota at every corner.
So Ty's chasing down Dakota's in P2. Jorn is in P1.
Ty will take the spot away from it.
And for me being as big a fan, like I'm somewhat vocal on the audio.
And then Dakota made a mistake. So
Dakota kind of blew that corner. And now it's Ty and Jorn. He's chasing him down, just reeling him in. And not too many people have heard of Jorn, but he's actually really decent. He's pretty quick. I don't know if he's like Ryan Cavalieri, Ryan Mayfield, Ty Tessman, Dakota Fenn fast, and you can see that right there because he really checked up. And Ty might have gotten a little bit impatient, but he got into the back of him. And then Ty picked him off with a little tap and pass. What's interesting is Jorn filed a protest.
He's probably, I don't think he's very happy, but
because he felt that Ty just didn't pull over and wait long enough.
Could have got the win, but oh well, that's.
And so I asked Torrance, I'm like, why stop? Why not let the refs figure it out? But the refereeing was so different. It was kind of
Norm does not share this.
inconsistent.
He files a protest with race control.
So yeah, there was a protest filed. They watched the video, determined that Ty waited, blah, blah, blah.
There is stress in the testament pit as Leanne updates.
Drama.
because I took Jorn out. Yeah.
So here Ty's explaining the protest to his dad. Here we have the slow-mo. So yeah, Ty was I think he was trying to jump over him, but he didn't quite have enough of a run on him, or Jorn had just enough speed, but then he took him out at the apex.
Ty's last brush with Jorn.
But that wouldn't be the end of the Jorn and Ty story.
Final day of the 2014 Reedy Race of Champions.
The other cool thing about the Reedy race is on the Saturday night, they put on the Supercross race and they give everybody beer. Because that's a really good idea.
Ty was right on the money when he predicted it would get rough.
So I'm just checking some of the feeds here.
Stuff.
So Peter Husser, no Masami. I didn't see Masami at this Reedy race. I know he's done them in the past, but I didn't see him at this race. It took me till 2017 to finally meet Mr. Masami, and that was stressful.
Another brutal position from which to start his next race.
So here we got Ty starting from the back again.
Ty battles hard.
That D413 was so good though. Mayfield
It was
crashed.
pretty good actually, starting from 9th. Just kind of.
Yeah, Ty started from 9th again.
Wait people to make mistakes, and then got up to 5th, and then Mayfield made a mistake, so I got to 4th, and then kind of.
So here he's in P4. He's chasing down. I think I saw Dustin Evans there, and there's JP. So he salvaged the 9th, or he turned a 9th into like a 4th or a 3rd, and that's exactly what you have to do at the Reedy race.
Mediocre drive in the two-wheel drive class. To go from 9th to 2nd on a track with virtually no passing zones.
So one of the YouTube questions, Sean Krause. Is there any other immediate connections other than yourself and Live RC? I think there's a few. I'm the only one that does the documentaries. There's RC Racing TV that does the broadcasting over in Europe. And then obviously there's Live RC. Red RC does a little bit of video content, but they're mostly stills.
You can feel the intensity floating in the air like a
same person, Sean Krause. Basically, I'm a fan of the sport. So he's asking, how do I find out about the races? I'll get back to you, Sean. This is super funny. So I usually avoid choke and pukes. But George's Catering, man, that food was dialed. It was like so good.
The competition intensifies.
Anyway, Sean, I just kind of Google and keep track of what the popular races are, and then put them on my list, and then talk it over with Proline, and they say yes or no.
This episode is as exciting as ever. While they're not battling for the win, every position counts.
So, yeah, one of the comments here, it's Califricano_P. So yeah, the Testmans are my friends. And in season 1, I didn't know a lot of people. So yeah, I did focus a lot on Ty Testman. But that is also how I pitched the series to Proline, because I wanted kind of a behind the scenes look at the industry from one of the up and coming drivers, like one of the up and coming top drivers' perspectives. So season 1, yep, I focused a lot on Ty, but guess what? He won the Worlds.
Four-wheel drive segment. Round 5. Ty has a 2-point lead over Ryan Cavallari for the four-wheel drive segment.
So yeah, Califricano,
All but the top 5 drivers
you're
have
kind
been
of a
eliminated.
dick.
A podium or better will secure Ty a spot in the top 3 overall. A huge accomplishment.
So this was a good heat because we saw all the top drivers together. So we had Ryan Cavallari, Ryan Mayfield, Tessman, and Jorn.
It was good. It started out 7th and was kind of caught up to the top 3.
Jorn, I think, takes this one? Yeah, Jorn took that one. So Ty turned a 7th into 3rd, which is, again, exactly what you need to do at the Reedy race.
Stupid because 3rd is better than a 4th or 5th, so just kind of rode that one out.
This is it.
So this is the last round of four-wheel drive.
Second overall and 6 points out of first. It is tight. A bad run for either Mayfield or Cavallari will open the
I think
door for
Ty had worked his way up to, he's in a podium spot now. So he couldn't have won it. Like Cavallari pretty much had it wrapped up, barring disaster. But Ty could have moved into 2nd. But currently he's in 3rd. He's got an okay starting spot. I think he's in P4 or 5-ish right now, with Jorn right behind him.
Before long,
But pay attention to Jorn, black wing. Boom. So it looked a lot like it was payback for that last round of Saturday,
or simply to avoid a penalty,
because that was a dirty move.
did wait for Ty.
Jorn's a super nice guy, but man, at this race, he's a menace on the track. I'm sorry. Anyways, so Ty is kind of like off the podium overall, like the overall podium now, but he really pushed hard here. So he's basically dead last. He's picked off several cars and he's right behind Jorn
All
now.
the natural laws of nature. Ty has clawed his way back into the mix. Ty picks off Jorn cleanly.
So here he gets past Jorn for P5. And he just keeps going. I believe he's in P3 now.
He just doesn't quit. That's what he does.
Like Gord said earlier, he just doesn't quit. And he's really showcasing that here.
Even Scotty Ernst can't believe the comeback.
Like, I can't help but be a fanboy, but this is impressive. To me, this is really impressive.
Drag in the air. It doesn't
Oh, that was, if that pass would have stuck, man, that would have been glorious. So that's in the narration, I said that's Neil Craig, but it's actually Lee Martin. And then unfortunately, Ty got a little frisky or something at the end there.
I just got a rough start.
Yeah.
Got down to last and then came back to 3rd and was trying to
But
get
yeah,
by
he went
him
from
for
last to
2nd.
3rd.
Tried to jump over him on the last double.
Yeah,
I got by
if
him,
that
but
would have
he stuck
stuck.
back in, so kind of went side by side the rest of the
Yeah, they went side by side into that last corner, and Lee just pushed a little bit more than Ty expected.
last corner, but just kind of
And then he had to settle for 4th. He still ended up on the podium.
for that round, but it was kind of just go for it or it didn't really matter. So the start of the weekend I was kind of bummed out. 2-wheel wasn't going as good as I wanted, but 4-wheel really turned around, and Florence and my mom really helped out and got me through it. It was a good learning experience, I think. Kind of made me appreciate more what I have when I don't.
So yeah, this was a really exciting race. I'm just checking some of the comments here.
It was great.
Will Drake do more voice? Will Drake do more voiceover work? Sorry, the mic is really. Earphones throwing me for a loop here. I love Adam's voice. It's just his schedule's so tight. I hate using too much of his time, and he needs a lot of practice on the scripts. Hopefully he'll do something. He's done a couple pieces of work for me. He's a good friend, and I really love his voice, kind of the Morgan Freeman of RC. Oh, sorry, I digress. There was a very cool shot of a very young Spencer Rivkin, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'd like to use Adam again if he's willing, but for now it's mostly Mike Garrison. I've used Charlie Schwenka for the Silver State 2 video, which we'll get into in a few weeks. And I promise I'll have my technical issues figured out.
They got that on camera.
So that's kind of my take of the Reedy race. Again, this video isn't my favorite one. That's why I'm kind of like just powering through this one, because I want to get into some more exciting ones like the Messina Worlds and like the whole 2015 season. And I'll have the Neo race back up when I do that one. So yeah, it was a fun race to be at, the Reedy race now. Just, yeah. The way I edited it, I went round by round by round. If I had to do it again, I would tell the story from each driver's perspective. It would probably be a little bit easier. It's just 12 rounds of action it makes for a kind of a slower video, because to me that was the problem with this one. It was just a bit on the slow side. Nitro Challenge, the next one we're going to do next Thursday, I told in the same fashion, but there's only 3 rounds of qualifying and then mains, so it makes for a much faster paced piece of film. So that was kind of one of the reasons why I can't really go back and watch the Reedy race. This, in fact, is probably the first time I've actually watched it in 4 years. Others, when I'm wrenching on my stuff, like my X-ray buggies. X-ray buggies are awesome. Best kept secret in all of RC, just saying. That's not a good thing, because you want to sell stuff, right? Anyways, when I'm wrenching, I tend to watch some of my episodes, but not this one. This, like I said, it's not my favorite. It was season 1, I was pretty shy. I was kind of scared to talk to guys like Mayfield. You know, didn't want to get throat punched. And then there's a few other drivers, like Jared Tebow didn't really give me a lot of attention, because I was a complete unknown coming onto the scene.
You got a problem with the track? You mean it's not good
and
enough for you? Maybe it's not as dirty as it wanted
yeah,
to be? I don't know, man.
So I just kind of didn't like how he sort of ignored me. But I mean, hey, it's his day job. This is not my day job. So for him to, when he's having a rough weekend, you know, for him to ask me to give him a break, now it's not an issue. Oh, let me stop the feed. There's a little bit of an icebreaker promo. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, back to Jared. Like he was just having a rough weekend, and now I get that it's his day job. It's not my day job, like I was saying. So we just kind of didn't get off to the best start, and yeah, it was pretty special. But these guys, it's a hard job. Being a pro RC guy, it's a tough job. I respect these guys a lot, and yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that. But yeah, it was awesome to see Jared win this past year. He's really struggled at this race in pretty much every other year. Like most of these guys, like Ty's struggled, you know, Mayfield has struggled in some of them. The only guy who really hasn't is Cavalieri, and he's just owned this race. Absolutely owned it. It's pretty incredible. Anyways, I'm just gonna go through my feed here. Yeah, sorry about the technical problems. The kids are watching Netflix upstairs, so. Anyways, I'm going to probably shut this one down. I will see you guys next Thursday for Nitro Challenge 1. We won't have any technical problems. And I hope to see you guys then. Anyways, I hope you liked the Reedy race. Again, not my favorite episode, but they get better. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.